What's up, filmmakers? How you doing? This is John Fuentes. Welcome back to Big Films, the home of action-packed blockbuster filmmaking. Today we're going to discuss how you use the VFX files from the Blockbuster Starter Pack in Premiere. We're going to drag and drop it right into your scene. Come on, let's jump into it. Hey guys, how you doing? And thanks for joining us here, and welcome to Big Films tutorial in Premiere. This is going to be a fun one, so let's jump right into it. So you might recognize the scene here from our promo video on our website. Is highlighting the electricity pack of the Thor scene where the lightning is crashing down from the sky and there's a lot happening around him. So here in Big Films, we don't have Chris Hemsworth, we have Special K. And Special K is always here to save the day. Here's our hero. And in this particular shot, he looks like the Statue of Liberty, but he is welcoming us to a brand new awesome tutorial. Let's have some fun. So we want to jump right over to the beginning of the scene. It's like, one advice I have here is when you're editing VFX into your scenes, just make sure that your scenes are pretty much locked where you're ready for VFX. So if there's any trimming or anything you want to change, do that before you add the effects. And in this case, our scenes are ready to be edited. So I'm going to click over here into our VFX folder in my project bin. As you see here, as I scroll through it, I have some VFX here from my Blockbuster Starter Pack. And then the first scene I got is the lightning want to come down from the sky here. So this is a pretty good candidate that we want to use here for that shot here. As you can, when you double click on it, it will show up in your viewfinder here, and you can scrub through it to see the details of the effect itself. Make sure it's the right thing for your scene. And now when I come back to my scene here, I know that he's raising the hammer up to an apex here, and this is where the lightning wants to strike when it hits the apex of the hammer here. So at this point, we want to drag and drop the file right in. So I trim it down, and as you can see, it's already looking pretty cool. You know, boom, lightning comes in, he goes thunder, bam, and it's coming down. All right, so as I look at this, the first thing I notice here in this particular shot here, that the lightning is coming in from right to left, and that's kind of like the wrong screen direction here. You want to think narratively, how is your audience experiencing this scene here? So we want to kind of bring this over to the left side. For we go left to right, and the way we can do that is hit over to our effects panel here. Once we double click on our file, go to effects panel, and then we can simply rotate the file itself. And as you rotate it around, you can see here suddenly it starts to look a more pleasant, a lot better, more cinematic, right? It becomes more immersive as it pushes us through the scene, and it's almost like creating like a 3D effect here, like a 3D level here, like this multi levels going on here. So you want to think screen direction, have it more cinematic quality, the way your audience experience it, the way you experience it when you watch the actual promo video, and loved it. So this is looking pretty good here. All right, so the next thing I notice here is, like, when you look at the lightning effect itself, we can make this look more natural to the scene. We can play with our blend modes to where the glow of the lightning itself blends more organically within the scene to give us a more realistic feel. So one way you can fix that here is when you click on your effects file in your timeline and you come over to your control panel here, you can look down on your blend mode. You see how the blend mode is set to normal. So this is just the normal file, right? So when you set it to screen, suddenly some of these black lines and those artifacts disappear, the unnatural glow disappears, and it looks more realistic. It looks more natural to the scene as you kind of scrub through it, and it's like, okay, that's looking really, it's popping really nice here. So blend modes are really good when you're editing or VFX with light or glows, smoke, you know, things that are luminous, has a luminous quality to it. You know, you can play with the blend mode to screen, get rid of some different artifacts. If I go back to normal, you can see some of the artifacts. See that? You want to get rid of some of that, right? So go back to hit the screen and it gets rid of that. But if you're editing a VFX file with like stuff like rocks or weapons and a building, you don't want to mess with the blend modes on that, because it can kind of actually make some of the details of the effect itself disappear, and you lose some great quality of the effect. So that's just a little helpful hint as you're editing with our VFX packs and in your films. Okay, so the next thing that's happening here, the lightning is striking the hammer. All right, what's happening to the hammer here? So it's making contact, and we feel like at this point right here, we'll have a little bit of reaction of the hammer and the lightning making contact together. So down here, I have this file here where you can see it's a little bit of a contained file here, effect here. It's a smoke with some electricity going on. This can be like, you know, something, could be a cloud or a storm or something like that. But in our case, this is going to be the reaction of the hammer and lightning hitting together here. So we have to see if it comes in together. Boom. Now right here, we're going to have to center this here and make sure we layer it right over kind of where the hammer is at. We can even scale it down, because then again, remember that our hero is a little further away from us here, right? So we come like that. Boom. That's looking pretty good. Lightning hits. Then that's the reaction. That looks actually pretty good. So in the same case here, the effect itself, we want to set it to screen, because you can see how it has the smoke going on and kind of hiding our hero beneath it. So when you click on your effects file, go to effects panel, blend mode, go to screen. Now suddenly it looks more organic to the scene, right? It looks like it's actually one file there, and it's looking pretty good. We can even see our hero through the effect. Now this gives it a more realistic quality, and this is what kind of gives it that wow factor that you're looking for in your film, right? So you don't want to bring attention to the effect, you want to make it feel like it really happened. So the next thing that's happening here in this scene here is something's happening to the hammer itself, and we have put in a glow effect. Our VFX can be used for a lot of different applications in many different films. So in this case, we have our laser effect. This can be used from a laser gun, sure, or a lightsaber or thruster of an engine. In our case, for this purpose, this is going to be a glow for our hammer. So you want to think about how you can use some of our effects in different ways for your stories, and you can have more choices, more elements, which is pretty cool. So when you kind of bring that, we drag that drop right on top of our other effects here, you can see that it has this nice big glow here. And we gotta center it, gotta bring it over him, right? And let's scale it down a bit. Remember, we are further away from him. Let's bring it right on top of that hammer. And the glow is so bright, he's sort of hiding all the effects there too. So we can kind of come over here and turn off our effects so we can see exactly how the glow is positioned over the hammer, and also how it looks scale wise. That is looking pretty good. So when we bring back our lightning effects and smoke effect, it's looking pretty cool, and it's almost like things are happening in a particular order. See, lightning strikes, there's a reaction, and it heats up and there's a glow. Cool. So now also you can see there's an orange glow here, but yet this is all lightning coming down, and so we can change the blend mode for that as well. So we highlight the effect, go to effects panel, blend modes, hit the screen mode, and now suddenly everything blends together very nicely, very organically in your scene. And you're going to hear me say organic a lot, because basically you want realism with the effects. That's why we sort of love it, right? So it sparks the imagination as if it's really happening. So at this point, this first shot of our promo video is done, right? It was really simple. Drag and drop, layer it, kind of mess with blend modes a little bit, but now we capture a really cool event happening here as our special K is calling down the lightning. So now we're going to jump to the next shot here, our sort of Statue of Liberty shot here. So K's here holding the hammer up, and it's a continuation of this scene, right? So we in a bird's eye view of him here, and now we more level with him. Another thing that's happening in this scene here is the camera is rotating with him. So this is going to indicate some of the stuff that you got to do in your editing process for this particular scene, because the camera's moving and our hero here is stationary. Okay, so now the first thing we want to try is now start layering the effects in the scene. So we want to start with lightning coming down from the sky hitting the hammer. So this is a really cool choice right here. Is in the electricity folder of the Blockbuster Starter Pack, file number 15, and we're just going to drag and drop that, bring it right over our clip, and you can see once it's laid onto the clip, we're gonna have to move the effect itself so it can be touching the hammer from the sky. So we highlight that clip, double click here, and bring it right over here, just like that. Okay, and it's coming down from the side. And remember, I talked about screen direction. This is actually pretty cool, right? Left to right, but it's coming down from the sky, so we're thinking more vertical. We're thinking more it's coming straight down, which is pretty nice here. Let's go like that. Let's Bring down more like this. And keep in mind, this is a very artistic choice. As an editor, you can have it come from any direction that you want, but for me, I feel like this works pretty good. But when you do move things around like this, you want to make sure that it's doing what you want it to do. So for example, as I start from here, it's touching, but as the camera itself is moving, you can see suddenly it drifts off to the side. So this is what I mean by the camera movement, and my hero still is telling me that I'm gonna have to keyframe from about here all the way up here, right? We want to keep the lightning on top of the hammer there. So we can come from the top of the scene and click on our lightning effect, go to effects panel. In our position here from the motion file, you see there's a stopwatch, right? And then you click on that stopwatch, you can see that a keyframe jumps up right here, right? So what I like to do is scrub to the end of the clip and set another keyframe by positioning my effect. So then I just kind of move it over like that, bring it up just about like that, and you see a second keyframe appears here. So the entire life and animation of your VFX is happening in between these two keyframes, which is your clip right here. Then I scrub back through to see, okay, does this keep the contact? Because when I come back over here, you see sort of drifts. So as it drifts, I can adjust just a bit, just keep it like that, just a bit, and another keyframe shows up, and simple. See, it didn't require much keyframing for this particular shot, but this is how you maintain the illusion that the lightning is striking the hammer as the camera is moving around. All right, so now that that's done, next thing you want to do is the lightning itself, right? It's the same thing as the other clip. It has a little bit of unnatural illumination for lightning in this particular scene. So we want to come into our effects control panel, hit our blend modes, and look, it's set to normal. We can set it to screen, and now it looks more realistic, right? Just like these guys here, it's starting to look more realistic like that. You know, so the next thing we want to do is continue to build the effect just like we did in the previous scene. So let's come back to what's happening when the lightning is making that contact, right? We want to have consistency, right? We want to have continuity here, and in this case, we want to bring back our little combustion cloud going on here. Take that, layer it right over our effect here, trim it down, make sure it's all looking good here, and we're gonna have to center that, right? So we double click, move it up. So now you notice that we are closer to him, but yet this looks a little bit overly big, so we can kind of scale it down just slightly and make sure it's looking good over the hammer. So as we kind of moving around like that, let's bring it right over the hammer a little bit more, but looking sweet, but not too small, right? We still want it to look pretty dope. And then also here we want to change our blend modes as well because of the smoke here. If we set our blend mode from normal to screen, you're going to see how it's going to create this really nice organic combination of the effect going on. So I click on blend modes, go to screen, and suddenly you see now here is looking good, right? It sort of like changes the luminance and also a little bit of transparency, so it's looking pretty cool. Now the next step will be where what's happening here, like let's make this scene pop a little bit more, right? So we have our glow, remember our glow effect here, we're going to bring that over and layer it on top of our VFX file here, and then we're going to click on that, we're going to center it to where we're going to at. Now here is another case where we may have to keyframe, and also since we are closer to him versus here, this can be a little bit bigger. The glow, the shine, you can look at this beautiful shine here. You can even make it as big as you want, or kind of, for me, I like to trim it down, just scale it down just like that. Again, this is, as an editor, this is an artistic choice of yours here, okay? So let's first blind these guys and see how this is actually layering on our footage. So I need to move it up a bit, just like that, and understand we're gonna have we scrub through it. You see how it just moves away from the hammer, just like the lightning. So we come to the top of the scene, move the effect onto the hammer, and then we're gonna have to keyframe that. So we go to our position, hit our stopwatch, and then as we go to the back end of the scene, you can see how the glow moved away from the hammer. So we want to bring it right back over to the hammer and make sure that we place it in a really good position here. Just like that, almost like he's holding that torch. Man, Special K is like our Statue of Liberty. Okay, so and we scrub back through it, and it's consistent. It actually looks pretty good. And when we bring back the other effects into the scene here, now it's looking better. And again, we have our orange glow. So what we want to do is to change our blend mode to screen. And here we go, looking a lot better, more organic, more natural. So look at that, look at the flare, is actually looking pretty good, and it's more realistic, you know. So at this point, we had duplicated what's happening here and here, but because we have more space here and we're more closer to him, let's make this look even better, right? So as the lightning's hitting the hammer and it's running through his body, let's add some electricity effect to his body here. So let's come back to our effects folder here and kind of look at what we got here, some choices. That's pretty cool. Let's see what that's pretty cool. Yeah, let's call this here. So we have this effect we can drag and drop right over him and trim that down. That's looking pretty good, nice. So if you're looking at this here, you can see where the spacing is a little bit big here, so maybe we could even possibly, if you want, again, artistic choice, scale it down just a bit. I'm gonna scale this down just a bit, sort of like it's fitted for him, right? This here is looking sweet, looking nice. That's looking good to me. Yeah, I like that. That looks pretty good. And again, to match the other lightning effect, what I want to do is change the blend mode of that. As you see on my normal, I want to set it to screen, and it looks pretty, looks more realistic. Looks really cool. So what else is happening here? Let's continue to build this scene. So let's look back into my effects folder here, and I have this lightning effect here. Kind of, you can see here, we have 3 strands of lightning coming out, but there's a space in the middle. So this is where we can say something like he's standing there in the middle, right? And so let's bring this over here, trim this down right just like that, and let's see here, that looks pretty good. What we want to do is kind of center it. I'm gonna scale this up a bit, so just like that. Let's see how that's looking. Yeah, that's looking sweet. And again, we want to match the lightning here, so we go to our effects panel, blend modes, set it from normal, set it to screen, and you can see that is looking really solid. So there's a few more things we can add here. You know, I was gonna say one more thing, but I'm actually looking at this, I'm like, nah, we can add a few more items here. So as you can see, right, he's having smoke happen here as his body and feet is touching the ground. Maybe we can put some smoke down in here. So in our effects folder here, we go into our blast folder. So the blast is from the explosion pack in the Blockbuster Starter Pack, and here's another example of how we can use an effect from a different folder that has many different applications. So this can be you know, an explosion, smoke from a car bomb, fire in a building, you know, just mist, a fog or something. And in our case, it's going to be kind of a smoky thing going on here for him. And as you can see, as we come into the scene, it's spreading out. So we want to first layer this nicely, like kind of bring it to the ground, right? So we have smoke up here and smoke down here as lightning making contact to the hammer. He's holding the hammer, his body's making contact to the earth, so it's heating up the area around him. But again, you can see how the smoke looks different here than here. So what we want to do is change the blend mode for that also. So here's, in smoke is a great thing where you can change from normal blend mode to screen itself. And now you can see it's, bam, this is looking sweet, right? And this kind of dissipates a bit, disappears and fades away. So I think there's one more thing we can add here to really make this scene pop really nice, as you see in the promo video. And it's like he's in all this open field and all this event is happening around him, and we have smoke coming up, so it's kind of kicking up some debris and everything. So I'm thinking like we can bring in here an effect from our destruction folder here. You have a large scale effect here. So as I double click on this here, you can see this can be used for different things like sparks or snow, or in our case, debris. So we're gonna bring this and drag this right over our clips here, trim it down, and we can even set this here to screen as well by going to our effects panel, blend modes, go from normal to screen. I think I like that. And keep in mind, these are just artistic choices. You know, you can do whatever you want as the editor. So this is pretty much our scene right here from our promo video. So just understand that as an editor, you have a lot of control in how you apply the effect, how you see it interacting with your scene. You can change blend modes, you can change scaling up and down, you can use different effects from other packs to accomplish a certain look and vibe or feel in the scene that you want. So it wasn't necessarily meant for a certain thing, but you can repurpose it into what you want as the editor, as a filmmaker, as the creator, as a visionary. So really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Stay tuned for the next one, and thank you guys for watching. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. Really hope that you enjoyed the tutorial. Make sure you subscribe, like, click on the bell icon so you can be alerted when the next one comes out. Also, when we share the good news of our new VFX packs coming out pretty soon. Remember the 3 cardinal rules of filmmaking. You are what you write, you are what you shoot, and you are what you edit. So with that said, go out there and make big films. See you soon.